I read Silver Surfer 54, featuring the unlikely fight between Silver Surfer and Spider-Man's enemy, Rhino Man. The Rage of the Rhino Man. This is by Ron Marsgill and Ron Lee. We have a bunch of guest characters on the bottom because this standalone story is also tying in to Affinity Gauntlets, the 1991 crossover Affinity Gauntlets. This one taking place in between pages of issue 3 of that miniseries. We straight away come to that. We have Silver Surfer present at Avengers House as the heroes are recruiting others to join the fray against the power-mad mega god Thanius. Silver Surfer leaves the room as Doctor Strange tries to get Hulk to join forces with them, but Hulk is reluctant to because of how the heroes have turned on him in the past. To which Captain America excellently says, "You were once an Avenger, and you can be again." Anyway, this is a direct scene from issue 3, and you can see Silver Surfer in the background of it, except he stays in the background. He doesn't leave the room. In fact, there is no opening for him to leave the room, because that scene ends with both him and Alan Watson leaving together in a porthole to rendezvous with Kazar and the big cosmic entities to debate involvement in the crisis. It might be nitpicky, but when we do a tie-in like this, when you tie into a crossover, it should be coordinated much better. It's not the case that this is a different editor who wasn't communicating with the editor of Affinity Gauntlets. It's the same editor. They have picked out this moment as one where you can squeeze in a Silver Surfer tie-in, a mostly disconnected, unimportant distraction. But the moment doesn't work. I have a solution though, and it only requires ignoring the background scene he was walking away from. Instead, say that it is from later in the issue, when Alan Watson and Kazar return. That is the perfect place to let Silver Surfer wander off. He's even, coincidentally, not depicted in the background of the next page of that scene. You can see he walked off without any problem. We follow that by cutting away to other scenes. We have the excellent Wolfman and Hulk scene on the top of Avengers House, one of the best scenes of the story. And then we have some scenes with Thanius. Ideal place to allow for Silver Surfer to go off and have a side story. Silver Surfer, he travels around New York looking at the destruction and carnage that has befallen the planet. So right, Thanius has the Affinity Gauntlet, right? He has God powers. One of the first things he did was, as a gift to Lady Death, he snapped his fingers and killed half of all living things in the universe. A great moment in the comic, horribly ruined in the movies. But everything is horribly ruined in the movies. Half of all the people on Earth vanished. They died. They were gone. A random half as well. No real internal sense of who was and who wasn't sent to death. With the exception of Shade, the changing man, who Thanius says he deliberately shielded from it, but that's not important. A bunch of heroes are among the dead, but also think of it like planes are going down because the pilot has vanished, cars are crashing, all sorts of disasters because half of the population have ceased to exist. Furthermore, every attempt Thanius makes to win Lady Death's heart is rejected, which is causing him to lose his cool and act out, and every small frustration or bit of anger is unleashing completely devastating waves of power. Some of the stuff on Earth is like buildings are collapsing and breaking because a god has stamped his foot in anger at his inability to charm Lady Death. There's giant tidal waves being caused. The entire west coast has sank. Gary Conman was right all along. Volcanoes are forming. One I remember is Japan just doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, we are observing some of that damage and chaos through Silver Surfman's eyes. He is wanting to try and use his time to repair some of the destruction and help people however he can. And he encounters a penguin loose from the Central Park Zoo. Silver Surfman greets the penguin and says that he has never seen the like of this animal before. Liar. We find out that all the animals in the zoo are getting loose, which allows Ron Marz girl to do some very shameless preaching about how inhumane zoos are. How keeping animals caged is wrong. Yeah, mate, I'm sure your Silver Surfman fights Rhino Man issue is going to rest on the conscience of zookeepers everywhere. We learn that Rhino Man is going around freeing the animals because he thinks the world is coming to an end and he wants the animals to die in freedom rather than behind bars. Rhino Man is maybe not characterised exactly right. This seems almost like Ron Marz girl had the script and then flipped through a handy book for an appropriate villain dressed as an animal. Something I should say though, in this he is all grey. The cover features, or seems to feature, is purple tank top armour piece. I think that was removed from the issue and attempted to be removed from this cover very last minute. Rhino Man started wearing those additional pieces of armour in Amazing Spider-Man 280. He wore them every time afterwards, including appearances in Todd McFarlane's Amazing Spider-Man and in Deadly Foes of Spider-Man. However, 6 months before this issue came out, Brie Larson's granddad restored Rhino Man to his normal design in a single issue, and I think that was initially missed in production of this Silver Surfman. It's a little thing. I wanted to point it out for whatever reason. Well, I wanted to point it out because we have a decent length fight with Rhino Man, and I often struggle to think of what to say when two characters are fighting, besides complimenting the artwork. I do enjoy this fight though, it is well done. It is a classic example of a good fight with an obvious loser. Rhino Man doesn't stand a chance against Silver Surfman. Well, that is no reason to not let us have a fun smackdown with Rhino Man trying to fight Silver Surfman. If you are in the market for this very unusual and specific matchup, You are far more than catered to with this one. You get a proper one. Silver Surf Man versus Rhino Man. More than living up to what the cover promises us. The fight is great, but then some of the preachy elements. I am incredibly sympathetic to animals, and I would agree with some of what he's saying, but there's a tendency in comics with animal rights where it comes off as guilting rather than informing or advocating. This also has a real cheesy ending, and one that completely deflates the seriousness of the crossover that it is tying into. The stakes are high and tremendous things are happening in that story, but also Silver Surfman has time in between panels to go out and have a montage looking after animals with Rhino Man. The two, they part ways, no longer as enemies, and Silver Surfman says he hopes that if they encounter each other again, it will be under better circumstances. Not really. He gives them a lift home on his surfboard at least. Things finish with a ridiculously out of character, badly written Hulk with a blue forehead telling Silver Surfman to get ready because they are all about to leave to fight Thanius. Affinity Gauntlets 3, that is the end of the issue. Really, my proposed shifting of when this issue takes place works so much better than what we are told in this. This is a bit stupid, but it is at its best when it is not trying to do anything that requires more than base level intellect. The fight is good, the art is good, the continuity and the scripting are bad. I think most people can enjoy the core part of the issue though, the bit that's on the cover, the thing you would read the issue for. So that is partially why I give it 7 thumbs up.